Hi, I'm MllkyMash, a professional criminal case sprite editor. A number of people in the criminal case community have asked me how to access the character sprites in-game, and I think it's about time I did a tutorial on how to do it. I have ignored this question for a very long time because of anxiety reasons. But fuck anxiety, we're doing it. If you played the Facebook version of Criminal Case, this tutorial will be a lot easier to follow, because otherwise finding the file names of these sprites is going to be pure guesswork, which can honestly be torturous, especially if you're looking for more obscure sprites, so just keep that in mind when following this tutorial. Okay, so when you've loaded up the game, make sure you right-click just outside of the game window, and from the drop-down menu, click on the Inspect option. Once you've selected this, you will then be met with this horrifying, overwhelming coding nightmare. But that's okay, because we literally do not need this. I got overwhelmed looking at this too, and I know what I'm doing. So instead of trying to be Kathy Turner, we're going to navigate to the top here and click on the Sources tab, which will then present you with this much less intimidating menu instead. From here, you want to click on the arrow next to the iframe_canvas option, since it's the actual game window for Criminal Case. This will then give you another drop-down list of weird and wonderful things, but this time we want to click on the arrow next to static.criminalcasegame.com, which will then give you some folder options. Now here comes the good part. From here, click on the non-hashed folder, and then you should have a city folder with a number next to it. The number will be different depending on which season of Criminal Case you're playing, so keep that in mind. For example, I'm currently playing The Conspiracy, so my folder is default to City 5. Since The Conspiracy is the 5th season of Criminal Case. Makes sense. We can actually gain access to the sprites from this point, but you're going to need to open a case in-game for them to start appearing. Make sure you have the appropriate city folder open before you do this. Open up the case you want the sprites from, and your city folder should have a case season-specific folder and a common folder. Don't panic if you don't have any of these. Season case-specific folders will appear once you open up a case in-game, and common folders will appear once a main character is on screen in-game. If you want a sprite for a suspect, they should appear automatically within the case-specific folder, but if they don't, then all you need to do is open the Suspects tab in-game and the sprites should appear. Once you have the sprite list open, scroll down until you find the sprite starting with NPC, because these are the glorious character sprites that you've all been looking for. Click on the sprite that you want and boom! There you go. Now, you've probably noticed that some of these sprites have numbers in them and some of them do not. Don't worry, I will explain this. If a suspect has made multiple appearances in a single season, it is highly likely that they will also have season case specific numbers in their sprite name as well. Using Jasper's sprite as an example here, the first number represents the season, and the numbers after that represent the case number. But Ash, you might ask, I don't see any of the main characters in here. Where are they? Allow me to demonstrate. If you want a specific main character sprite, then all you have to do is play a sequence where they appear in-game, and their sprite should show up in the common folder. The easiest way to do this is through the lab analysis dialog. Open up the laboratory tab in-game, cycle through the analyzed items, and as the characters appear on screen, their sprite should show up in the folder simultaneously. That all being said, main characters can also have case-specific sprites, usually for situations where they wear a different outfit, show off flashy gadgets, getting drunk at work, or finding a lost teddy bear. These sprites will be located in the case-specific folder rather than the common folder. However, these types of sprites are by far the most difficult to find. I briefly mentioned at the start of this video that this process can be torturous, and this is exactly why. Because what if you wanted the sprite for a kiss scene? Scandalous. Well, in that case, we're gonna have to whack out the entire damn JavaScript. The thing is, sprites will only appear in the folders if they appear on screen in-game. But what if you have already completed a case, and the sprite you want is from a sequence of dialogue you can no longer access unless you play the case again in Elite mode? And let's be honest, who has time for Elite mode? Nobody. So we're going to go diving into the JavaScript instead. This is a little complicated though, so bear with me. For example, let's say I wanted to find the sprite for the Cathex's kiss and There Will Be Blood. Were you really expecting me to use anything else as an example? Who do you think I am? Open up the case you want the sprite from and open the case-specific folder to access the sprite list, and right-click on any of the sprites available to you. From the drop-down menu, click on the Reveal in Network panel option. Selecting this will display a more complicated sprite menu. Scroll through the sprites until you find these three options clumped together. Right-click on the very top option and select Open in New Tab. This will open up the JavaScript for that specific case, but the important thing here is that this should list the names of every single sprite that was used in said case. Character sprites, backgrounds, crime scenes, clue sprites, they're all here. Since I'm looking for the Cathex's Kiss sprite, I'm going to assume that the sprite is going to have the word kiss in the name, so I'm going to hit Ctrl F here and search for kiss. Obviously. Oh, look at that, I was right. So, what I'm going to do to confirm that is I'm going to head up to the URL here, remove the JavaScript format and replace it with the sprite name. But instead of using SWF, I'm going to have to replace this with PNG in order to get the sprite. Hit enter on the URL and boom, Cathex's Kiss. We deserved more. As far as saving the sprite sheets go, that's, well, pretty simple. If you manage to find the sprite you're looking for through the sources panel, then you just have to right-click on the sprite and select Open in New Tab. That will then give you the sprite sheet as well as the URL link for that specific sprite. I would honestly recommend saving the URLs in a document or something so you don't have to go through this process every time you want to use a sprite. From there, you can just save the sprite as you would with any other image. If you access the sprites from the JavaScript, then like I said before, just replace the end of the URL with the sprite name rather than the JavaScript format, and replace SWF with PNG. There is a reason for this that I will explain shortly. Another additional tip regarding the sprite URLs is that once you have a URL for a specific type of sprite, like a main character sprite, you can actually make some pretty accurate guesswork to figure out the others without actually having to dig for them. Let's say I figure out the URL for Kathy's sprite, but now I want to find Elliot's. All that would be a case of is replacing the city number from 5 to 3 and replacing Kathy's name with Elliot's. Lock that in and voila! You now have Elliot's sprite as well, and you didn't even have to look for it. Sometimes there will be some exceptions and variations, but this is mostly the case with Season 1 and Season 2 sprites. Sprites for Season 3 and onwards should follow the same format. And that's it really, as far as finding the sprites go. But what if we wanted to take this one step further and convert the sprite sheets into an animation format, as they appear in-game? Well, fear not. I can show you how to do that too. Once you have saved the sprite sheet as a PNG file, go back to the URL and replace PNG with GAF. Hit enter and you should have a download window appear. This download is the animation file for the sprite sheet you have just saved. A very important thing to clarify here is that while the JavaScripts will have the sprites listed as an SWF file, this will not work. The animation files used to be accessed as SWF files, but ever since Adobe Flash went down in 2020, they have since been changed to GAF files instead. Again, to clarify, to access the sprite sheet, make sure the URL ends in PNG, and for the animation file, make sure that the URL ends in GAF. You will need both files in order for the conversion process to work. Once you have both files downloaded, open up your search engine and type in GAF Converter. And once the search results appear, click on the link that takes you to gafmedia.com. This will take you to the website of the conversion program that Pretty Simple uses to convert the original SWF sprites into a GAF format. Click on Download Free Version and let the download finish. Luckily, the trial version is all we need for this. And yes, I know, you're having to download a program that you've never heard of before. I would be sus too, if I didn't already know Pretty Simple uses it. Once the converter is installed, open it up and you should be presented with this small window that instructs you to drag an SWF file into the converter. But hold up, we don't have SWF files, so how is this going to work? Remember how I said that we need both the PNG sprite sheet and the GAF animation file for this? Yeah, That's how we make this work. Once you have the sprite sheet and the animation file for the sprite you want to use, make sure you drag both files into the converter at the same time. Dragging in the files individually will not work. Drag them in and voila! The criminal case animation sprites are completely at your disposal. You can also zoom in to make the sprites bigger, but it will be at a massive cost of quality. I don't recommend doing this unless you have the patience to draw over everything. You also have the option to remove layers from sprites that may contain any unwanted accessories. And you also get to see the names for each expression as an added bonus, so that's fun. But yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote. I hope this tutorial was helpful in your journey to becoming a certified professional criminal case sprite editor. But if you'll start making seriously cursed edits, I had nothing to do with it. Edit responsibly.